There is one number we are always told to celebrate when it goes up. It's flashed on our screens, debated by politicians, and treated as the world's report card. I'm talking about the gross domestic product, or the GDP, as you may know it. A rising GDP is sold as the ultimate sign of a nation's success. But what if this report card is broken? What if it's giving an A to a student who is burning down the school just to stay warm? GDP measures the fire, not the destruction. It counts the money spent on rebuilding, but not the value of what was lost. We've been conditioned to chase a high GDP as the ultimate goal, but this one number ignores devastating inequality, our happiness, and the health of our planet. Are we measuring progress all wrong? Hi everyone, I'm George Economic PhD economist, and today we are exploring reasons why GDP is such a wrong number to use to measure prosperity. Before that though, take a moment to subscribe to my channel. There are awesome concepts analyses coming you wouldn't want to miss. To understand why GDP is so misleading, we need to know what it is and where it came from. The modern concept of GDP emerged in the 1930s, when economist Simon Kuznets was tasked by the US Congress to measure the nation's total economic output. During the Great Depression, leaders needed a way to gauge the crisis and see if recovery efforts were working. GDP is the total monetary value of all finished goods and services produced within a country's borders over a set period of time. Think of it as the country's total annual income. After World War II, the 1944 Bretton Woods Conference made GDP the global standard of measuring a country's economic power. It was revolutionary for its time, but we've forgotten a key part of the story. Its creator, Simon Kuznets, gave a stark warning. In 1934, report to Congress, he warned, the welfare of a nation can scarcely be inferred from a measurement of national income. He knew GDP measured production, not well-being, but his warning was ignored. We became obsessed chasing a higher GDP at any cost, believing it equated to a better society. This left us with a distorted picture of progress with four massive blind spots. First, GDP ignores inequality. It's a simple average. As the saying goes, if one person has their head in the freezer and their feet in the oven, on average they are comfortable. GDP tells us the size of the economic pie, but says nothing about how the slices are shared. A country can have booming GDP driven by a few billionaires, while millions live in poverty. The number goes up, but life for the average person doesn't improve. A UNDP analysis highlights this thing, showing that in nearly half of developing countries with rising GDP post-pandemic, extreme poverty was also increasing. This reveals the lie at the heart of using GDP as our only measure of success. A country's supposed economic triumph can hide extreme hardship. When we only celebrate a rising GDP, we are often just cheering for the rich getting richer. It lets policymakers off the hook for building a fair society. It never asks the most important question: growth for whom? Second, GDP often rises due to things that make life worse. It has a perverse relationship with our happiness. Think of a massive traffic jam. It's a nightmare of stress and wasted time, but for the GDP, it's a win. Wasted fuel, car repairs, all this activity born from misery makes GDP go up. Even worse, GDP treats disasters as economic wins. When a hurricane hits, there is immense suffering, but the rebuilding, construction, cleanup is counted as positive economic activity. The money spent just getting back to zero is tailless progress. A 1,000-year-old forest has zero value to GDP while standing, but cut it down, and sell the good, and the GDP goes up. The system literally counts the destruction of our natural wealth as a gain. This creates a disconnect. The Easterlink paradox shows that while happiness rises with income in poorer nations, the effect flattens out. Once basic needs are met, more national income doesn't equate to more happiness. Countries like Finland and Denmark are often ranked the happiest in the world, despite lower GDP per capita than the US, proving social support and community matter more for well-being than raw economic output. Third, GDP completely ignores the environment. As I said before, it treats our planet like a business in liquidation, selling assets with no thought for the future. As we have seen, environmental destruction can actually make GDP rise. A factory polluting a river contributes to GDP through its sales, and then again through healthcare costs for the sick. Cleaning up a toxic spill counts as a plus. We are literally profiting from our mistakes. The model is unsustainable by design. GDP doesn't subtract the costs of pollution or resource depletion. When we deplete our oceans, soil, or air, GDP only sees the transaction, not the loss of the natural capital, the foundation of our survival. This encourages policymakers to chase short-term growth even if it means long-term ruin. The UN Secretary General has stated moving beyond GDP is essential to value what truly counts, including our planet. We are driving our planetary car by staring at the speedometer while the fuel gauge is on empty and the engine is on fire. And number 4, GDP ignores huge parts of the real economy since it only measures what's bought and sold. Two vital sectors are invisible: unpaid household work and informal economy. Think of the essential work at home, caring for children and the elderly, cooking, cleaning. This is society's bedrock. It's what allows the formal workforce to function. Economists estimate this unpaid labor could be worth 15 to over 50% of GDP. Yet, because no money changes hands, GDP counts it as zero. This systematically undervalues work predominantly done by women, warping our view of economic contribution. GDP also misses informal or underground economy. This includes cash-in-hand jobs, street vendors, and small unregistered businesses. In many developing nations, this sector can be up to 50% of the total economy. These are real people doing real work, but because it's unregistered, they are invisible to the GDP. This massively underestimates a nation's true economic life. By ignoring these activities, GDP gives us an incomplete ledger, like judging a company by only department sales while ignoring its entire operational background. So if GDP is a flawed map, where do we find a better one? The good news is we don't have to start from scratch. For decades, experts have been developing alternatives for a more holistic picture of progress. The Beyond GDP movement is gaining momentum, with the UN and G20 admitting we need new tools. Let's look at a few promising ones. One well-known alternative is the Human Development Index, or HDI. Created by the UNDP, it emphasizes that people and their capabilities, not just economic growth, are the true measures of development. HDI combines three key metrics: a long, healthy life, which is life expectancy, access to knowledge, which is the years of schooling, and decent standard of living, which is the gross national income per capita. HDI helps us see how two countries with similar incomes can have vastly different health and educational outcomes. It isn't perfect. It doesn't fully capture inequality or environmental health, but it's a huge step toward a broader definition of progress. Another powerful alternative is the Genuine Progress Indicator, or the GPI. While HDI broadens the dashboard, GPI tries to fix the original math. GPI starts with GDP's data, but makes crucial adjustments like the difference between a company's revenue and its actual profit. GPI adds the value of things GDP ignores, like volunteering, and subtracts costs like crime, pollution, and resource depletion. The results are dramatic. In many developed nations, while GDP has climbed for decades, GPI has flattened or even fallen. This suggests that social and environmental costs of our growth are overweighting the benefits. GPI asks a simple question: is our economic activity actually making us better off sustainably? Its use in 17 countries, covering over half the world's population, shows its growing importance. And finally, the third and probably most inspiring shift isn't a new metric, but changing the goal of government itself through well-being budgets. Pioneered by New Zealand, this approach centers spending on citizens' health and happiness. Instead of asking, how can we grow GDP, it asks, how can we improve the well-being of our people and our planet? New Zealand's government identified budget properties like improving mental health, reducing child poverty, and building a sustainable economy. Budget decisions are judged on how they contribute to these goals, not just their economic impact. While their 2025 budget still aims for a productive economy, it's explicitly tied to improving health and social outcomes, showing a commitment to a more holistic view of success. For over 70 years, we have navigated the world with a faulty instrument. We have seen GDP as our North Star, but it has led us towards deeper inequality, environmental ruin, and a disconnection from what makes life worthwhile. Its own creator warned us against this. It counts what's easy to measure, not what matters. It values a missile over the unpaid care of a parent. It values disaster cleanup more than the pristine ecosystem that was destroyed. The alternatives, HDI, GPI, and well-being budgets, are more than just statistics. They represent a fundamental shift in our values. They declare that the health of our people, communities, and planet aren't secondary concerns. They are the definition of progress. Moving beyond GDP isn't abandoning economics. It's making economics serve humanity, not the other way around. The goal of society shouldn't be just to get bigger, but to get better. What we measure reflects what we value. It's time we started valuing genuine progress. So what do you think? Which alternative is the most promising one? HDI, GPI, or a total shift to a well-being framework? Let me know in the comments below, and if you found this insightful, hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the system that shapes our lives. Thank you all for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.